Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and in today's very special episode, we're going to be having a look at the brand new Infinity Tournament System Season 17. ITS 17 is here. It's bringing changes. There's been a big blender taken to the tournament system for Infinity. If you're not a competitive player, why should you care? Well, because the ITS free PDF, which is linked in the description below, tends to be the de facto missions that players use even when playing casually. So if you are planning to play Infinity, you will probably come across these missions, so it is relevant, it is worth looking at, even if you plan to never go to a tournament. With that said, this year is by far one of the greatest shake-ups I've ever seen with the system. There's been an absolute cull of missions, and let's start by looking at that. So we have effectively 7 new missions, although Akial Interference and Provisioning are in fact remixes of countermeasures and supplies respectively. So even though there are 7 new missions, 2 of them are a remix, but there's 5 that are pretty much brand new. We are retaining Beepong, Evacuation and Last Launch, plus the Direct Action and Resilient Ops missions. So those are all staying the same. But we have actually lost 15 missions from this season. That's right. Sorry to break it to you folks, but Biotech 4 is gone. It's over. Frostbite's also left. What a time to be alive. But there are some classics in there. The original supplies, highly classified. These are phenomenal missions, and they will be missed from this season. But it's nice to see that Corvus Belli's tightened things up a little bit, and they're really being quite adventurous this year. Has it worked? Well, let's start with what's in and what's out. The main things that are in, as before, Spec Ops, Soldier's Fortune, Direct Action and Reinforcements remain. Unfortunately, Tactical Support remains. That is the mechanic where you have to draw a card and then you get a thing, and that thing can be, you've automatically passed your objective roll, which is pretty cool. Or you can get a gizmo kit, or an adhesive launcher, which is, you know, I mean, yeah, those two are not the same. So, yeah, Tactical Support for me is a massive amount of admin at the start of a game that is already quite front-loaded with admin. Don't really need it, but it's still there, so yay. And we also see that troopers with the classification character gain the vectoring classification as they have done before. So that's pretty much not changed. The main things that are out apart from those missions are QAZ creatures. They've mostly been massacred, so we won't be seeing them anymore. And how much you'll miss them or not is entirely up to you. But yeah, I know a lot of local players that will not be sad to see them leaving. So we get some season flavour, and this year is very much all about the treasure. But whether this season needs to be taken into the garden and buried, or put on the mantelpiece and saved forever, it's up to you. However, we do get the Sāchā, I'm calling it Dave, the exclusive miniature that comes in the ITS 17 pack. She's got this profile and she's available to everybody. Now, normally she wouldn't be. She'd be available to things like Shindan and Kestrel and a couple of other factions. But now, for this season alone, you can use her everywhere. Would you want to? Well, we have this brand new little feature, and it involves, during deployment, all players having to place down a 25mm treasure token. Woo! It's basically deployed in the same way as a HVT. So 4 inches outside of the deployment zones, blah, 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 blah. Not in a building, da, 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 da. At the end of the game, you can replace one of your classifieds for Secure the Treasure. And in order to secure the treasure, you must have a trooper within the zone of control, uncontested, of the enemy's treasure token, and you must have no enemies in the zone of control of your treasure token. Then you score the classified. But if you've got Dave, then you can score this even if there is an enemy inside of your zone of control of your friendly treasure token. So you don't have to worry about keeping yours clean. You can just put Dave next to it and job done. Also, if Dave gets in base-to-base contact with a treasure token, she can make a booty roll and get extra free stuff, because, you know, getting a forearm and a Panzerfaust would be hilarious. Let's be honest, on a 6-point miniature, hilarious. No two ways about that. But yeah, so that's going to be your flavour. You're going to be capturing those treasure tokens, people. Look forward to various interesting and unique concepts of what a treasure token should be. 10 points to the first person that makes the little golden dude from Indiana Jones and puts that on a... We need one of those. I need that. That's the thing that I need in my life. Anywho, so that's our season flavour. Let's go on to our first new mission, Akial Interference. Now this, as I said, is effectively countermeasures. You have a number of open classified objectives and everybody gets to try and complete those, and you have your own classified and you've got to try and complete that. And having done more at the end of the game, you win. That's the whole thing, basically. You also score points for game round as well. If you've achieved at least one classified in each game round, you get an extra objective point for that. So that's cool. But what's different? Well, if you look at the map on the right hand side, we're going to be using the full 300 point maps for all of the maps in this particular discussion. So there are the smaller ones, but just for ease, they're all 300 point. We have the Akial antenna in the middle of the board. What does that do? Well, so, as I say, similar to countermeasures, we have 4 HVTs, so you have 4 HVTs on the board, but an Akial antenna, if you get a specialist and you do a whip check and you pass that whip check, you can cancel one of your enemy's completed common classified objectives. That's right, people, you can undo the good work that they've done. Is this comedy genius, or is this just sick, unpleasant play? I leave that up to you and your conscience, to be honest with you. Alternatively, you can use the Akial antenna by doing a non-roll, just spend a short skill, and you can replace one of the common classified objectives. If there's one on there and you look at it and you think, nope, don't want that, can't do that, you can just boop the antenna and up comes a new classified objective for you. I think this is an interesting mechanic. I'm not sure how frustrating it will be to have all of your good work undone by your opponent coming along and noping with the Muppet stick in the middle of the board, but it definitely creates an interesting ebb and flow, and it will avoid those horrible situations, which I've both been on the receiving end and the deliverer of, where one player absolutely vacuums up all of the classified objectives and then does that in the first turn and then sits back and goes, "We on them." It puts a bit more balance. It means that initial first player can't just completely dominate the game and then lock things down, which is, this is a good thing. We get some more dynamism, we get some more flow in the game. This is cool. Then we have corporate appropriation, also known as steal the thing. We have a thing, prototypes the 2 blue dots on that mid-exclusion zone, and you have to steal it and control it in another game. And the other one, which is your one, you have to blow that up. So nick theirs, blow yours up. Simple as that, right? Yeah, totally. Plus we also have 3 classifieds in there as well, just for the absolute gigs of the thing. And we have panoplies, which are the sort of pinky, purpley dots just outside each deployment zone. So you need to boop the boops to get the weapons, then you need to steal the thing, then you need to blow the thing up, and then you need to do some classifieds. This is going to be a very, very order-hungry mission, let's be honest. You have a lot to do, and the whole time, rudely, your opponent's going to be trying to stop you, which is just unnecessary, to be fair, up to sportsman behaviour. But here we are. So what we need to know about this one. First of all, the player who's going second gets to decide which bot is which, whether the one on the left or the one on the right is theirs, obviously depending on the table setup. The actual bot itself is quite horrific, with 6 arm, 6 PGS, 3 structure, and still at 3, and it can CC quite unpleasantly and can be gizmo kitted and healed as well. So yeah, interesting. But anyone can steal this thing, so bikes can steal it quite happily. But note that when you have stolen the enemy's prototype, you can't move with it. You can only move and then do another short skill, unless your trooper that's carrying it has baggage. So to be honest, any of the fast-moving baggage bots are going to be well worth their weight in gold. Or any of the baggage bots, sorry, are going to be well worth their weight in gold in this one, because they can just pick up and sprint with it, which is going to be fantastic. The prototype that you want to blow up, your own one, can only be destroyed in CC with either anti-material or decharges, so that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to track down your own prototype, make it go pop, and then steal the enemy's one. Simple as. Then, as I say, we have the panoplies on the deployment zone, which you need to do a booty roll, basically get free stuff out, arm your guys up. So it's a run to the board, blow yours up, grab theirs, run back to yours, and spend the rest of the time spamming the button, trying to get new and exciting weapons out of your panoplies while stopping the enemy from trying to steal their stuff back. Clearly, nice and easy. The only thing I can think about this one is, if you get to go first, and you can frag your own prototype, it's going to give you a distinct advantage. It's going to put the pressure on. You know, it's instant 3 points, which, yeah, the best you can do then is well, yeah, you can only protect your own. Yeah, you can only blow up your own. It's going to really limit it. Whoever blows it up first is going to limit the points on this. This kind of needs to be the first thing you do, is blow your own one up and secure 30% of the points. If you do that, your classifies, and then spam your panoplies, you can get 70% of your points quite comfortably and just ignore those. It's an option. This will be an interesting one, I have to say. I think it's going to go one of two ways. The fact we have this exclusion zone where people can't deploy, so you can't get your Morans and your crazy koalas right up next to your prototype, is good. Absolutely. Is it? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think this will be an interesting one, and I think it will be a fun one to play and figure out, but I can't help but feel that there's a specific type of list and specific play style that will work well with this, beyond what's reasonable. Next, we have our first example of an Infinity mission which has an attacker and a defender. Now, this particular bundle of fluff and happiness, critical intervention. Let's look at the map first of all. We have a 8-inch by 8-inch room in the middle with 2 turrets inside, a data console, and an inhibitor antenna towards the deployment zone of the defender. Exclusion zone through the middle. So what the attacker has to do is get to the middle, boop the data console at width -6, take the data pad out of it, and then keep the person with that data pad alive to the end of the game. That's what this boils down to. So, attacker gets a point for unlocking the data console. They extract the data pack from the data console, they get 2 objective points. So you've got into the room, you've taken out those turrets, you've booped the boop at -6, and you've got the boop, that gets you 3 points. That's it. The trooper then has to survive at the end of the game, gets you 4 points. If they're in your deployment zone, there's another 2. And if you dominate through points the server room at the end of the game, there's another 2. And if you kill at least 75 points in the 300 point game, there's another point there. So grab it, run with it, don't die, control the server room, kill more stuff. Although kill more stuff is the least important of all of that. Defenders, by comparison, need to stop them from unlocking the console, stop them from taking the data pack, kill the person that's got the data pack, end the game with dominating the server room, which is 2 points, and then kill more stuff, and you get a classified in there as well, just to make things completely bonkers. So, yeah, diametrically opposed objectives. I want the thing, I don't want you to have the thing. If you get the thing, I'm going to kill the person that's got the thing. Yeah, you get the idea. You can, as a defender, spend a command token to either activate the turrets or to deploy up to 65 points of your army in the server room at the start of the game. As I say, specialists can steal the data pack from the console at a width -6 unless they boop the inhibitor antenna. Now, the inhibitor antenna is used to unlock the data pack, i.e. remove that -6, or to turn off the turrets, or turn them on. So if you don't use that command token to turn the turrets on, you need to run up to the antenna, boop it, and then turn it on. So bearing in mind that you still get your normal use of command tokens during the usual phase at the start of the game, so you can spend a command token, turn the turrets on, and just be done with it. And if you go in second, there's wisdom to that, I think. So, crossing lines, and this is definitely crossed the lines for some of you on the internet out there. What do? At the end of each game round, dominate a dead zone. 1 objective points for each dead zone. So that's the stroked through areas between the 2 deployment zones. At the end of the game, dominate both dead zones. At the end of the game, activate an antenna, and there's 2 antennas through that midline, and there's no classified objectives. This is purely projecting force on the board. Now, the interesting thing is that we have a deployment zone, the other side of the midline, and where it normally would be, and the same vice versa. So up to 75 points can be deployed in that central strip. Oh yeah. This mission is definitely a thing. This mission is definitely a thing. I'm not massively convinced by this one. This is possibly the weakest one from my perspective, to be honest with you. You know, you've lost a lot of the superior deployment that can't be used on this one. apart from impersonation. You don't need specialist. It's pure kill game. It's pure violence. But the fact you can deploy over that midline with 75 points. Now, interestingly enough, if, say, somebody like me was running, say, Corregidor, you could put an Iguana with a repeater, Belli, who also has a repeater, and then a repair bot off of a clockmaker in that area for 74 points. So you can get a tag with a heavy flamethrower, a heavy machine gun, and a repeater, so able to be hacked through on that midline before you start. Tick Balangs can do it. You could. There's so many Trip Hammers can do it with room to spare. There's so many things you can stick in that mid area which are just going to be murderous, and they're going to be right across the deployments. They're going to be in your face. I think anything that can put down repeaters. I mean, Lunicod Sputniks as well. Stick that with it. It's got templates on there. It's got crazy koalas. It's got a repeater. You stick that in that area with a boarding shotgun as well, with a shotgun variant on it. You are going to have a hell of a time digging that thing out. Especially if the enemy's got any type of guided missile system. They can just light you up, spotlight everything, and then nuke you from orbit. Yeah, this one, several people have reached out to me and said, well, we want your opinion, which is lovely. It's nice to have, people care. Love to see it. But then that's been followed with that crossing lines, I can see why. This one's going to go one of two ways, and I think if you have any sort of rough opinion or view on how this game works, this one's going to be over really quickly. Really decisively. Alpha striking is definitely a thing with this. Anywho, then we have Hardlock. So, at the end of each game round, control the enemy beacon. At the end of the game, your beacon is not controlled by the enemy. At the end of the game, have more activated consoles. At the end of the game, have an active console and a classified. So this is grab the beacon and run. That is what it is. Anyone can grab the beacons. Baggage box can carry 2 beacons. Specialists can boot the beacons. Can boot the antennas, sorry, not the beacons. So you need a specialist to hit those consoles. And you need more of those. That's definitely a thing. So you can get up to 5 points for the consoles, and the rest is split between your beacons and stuff. So you're scoring per game round with controlling the enemy beacon. Yeah, I think this one will be interesting. I think this one will be fun. I think it's going to have a nice ebb and flow to it. But again, it's quite a few moving pieces. You need to control or be in a position to control those consoles at the end of the game. You also need to control your beacon and control their beacon and get classifieds done. So you're going to need some specialists for this one. You're going to need some board control. Having the sort of visibility control, your disco ballers and stuff like that's going to be really potent to get upfield and control the beacon in the first place and then run away with it. So yeah, I think this will be a fun little game. I think this will be an interesting one to run. Expect to see that at a tournament coming soon from us, to be honest with you. Provisioning. Absolutely, definitely, positively not supplies. It may look like supplies on the wonk, but it's definitely not in any way, shape or form. So at the end of the game, control a supply box, 1 point for each supply box. At the end of the game, control more supply boxes in your safe area. And in the game, control the same number, blah, blah, blah. In the game, if the enemy doesn't have any control boxes and you've really ruined their day, absolutely, and classified. So it's not supplies honest. The central tech coffin on that map has 2 supply boxes in it, which is interesting, and specialists can extract those boxes. When you've got your safe area, it secures the box. If you drop the supply box in there, it secures the box and it makes it harder for the enemy to steal it back, which is quite cool. But yeah, this is supplies. The supplies that you know and love. It is your specialists that can infiltrate, get them around the box to slow the enemy down, and then get your fast movers up there to grab the box and run like hell. That's the whole thing. And these days, you want to do the central one because the central one's got 2 boxes in it. Outstanding. But yeah, we love this. Supplies is fun. Provisioning, I've yet to play it, although it's just supplies on the wonk. So I'm going to love it. It's a great little game. It's a fantastic one to learn the game with as well. If you're new to the game, new to Infinity, and you want to play a mission, this is definitely one that's worth having. But there is a downside. This little rule appears in uplink center provisioning, evacuation, and superiority. So let's read it out in full. This is operational learning. When a specialist performs a skill with a scenario label that requires a whip fail and rolls, they benefit from the following mods in subsequent orders. In the second consecutive order, the troop applies a +3 mod to their whip roll required for the scenario skill. In the third consecutive order, subsequent orders, the trooper applies +3 and +1 SD mods to the whip roll required for the scenario skill. These mods are cumulative with any other mod that applies to the skills with the scenario label. So, you have your Fusilier, he's trying to open the box, he fails his 12, he rolls again, he now has +3, he's now rolling on 15, he fails again, he now rolls +3, so 15, 18. He's rolling for 18 and he gets a special die. I don't like this. I don't like this rule at all. I say that as somebody that has been on the rough end of the, I've rolled this 6 times and he can't score a 14. I've been there. It sucks. It does suck. But, and this is kind of important, this is a dice game. That can happen. And it is the nature of a dice game. The fact that we're stripping that away, you know, Pano, their whole shtick is shooting things good and then rolling their face over the keyboard to try and complete missions. With these uplink center provisioning, evacuation, and superiority, that happens once, and then statistically it doesn't happen again. And we were, you know, it's a 15% jump, but it's a 15% jump. Suddenly, on that second dice roll, they're better than your Securitate, and they're getting on, they're as good as a Dava and stuff like that. They're supposed to be dumb. I get the idea of learning, but then my gut instinct to that is if we're going to put in the concept of, well, they've learnt and they've learnt on the job. Okay, I fired 4 shots at this target over here and it still stood up. Clearly, I've got my eye in with the shots. So do I get a +3 to whatever other positive modifiers I've got for shooting in the second sort of set of shooting? Because clearly I should, because I've got my eye in. And then if I miss that, do I then get another +3? So, you know, I'm shooting on 23s and 24. No, it just doesn't. That's not how this system works. That's not how Infinity works. We don't. This just feels wrong. This feels like, and there's a certain subset of gamers, and I'm gonna say what I think. There's a certain subset of gamers who whinge when they lose a game this way, because yeah, it sucks. They whinge to a point where something's been done about it, and I don't like that. As a TO, this will probably, if I play in any of my tournaments, uplink center provisioning, evacuation, or superiority, those missions will possibly have this rule exclusively removed from it. I dislike it that much. It doesn't, yeah, it defeats the purpose of playing a dice game if we're just going to say, well, we don't, you know. I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right with me. Let me know what you think in the comments below if you agree with my stance on that, or whether you're one of the people. No, that's not one of the options. Whether you agree with my stance on that, let me know in the comments below. I am always open to feedback. Finally, we have Zone of Interest. Now, this is an interesting one, which is good because it's Zone of Interest. Anyway. So, what we need to know about this one is there's 3 Zone of Interests. Whoever goes first places 1 and the special zone, and then the second player places a normal one as well. So you place these 3 circular templates and they become the zones of interest and the special zones of interest. At the end of the game, dominate the zone of interest, 1 objective point for each zone to a maximum of 3. Then of each game round, dominate the special interest zone for +1 objective per round. At the end of each game, have an activated communications antenna. There is 1 communications antenna in the middle of the board. So if you control the special zone of interest and the antenna at the end of each round, there's 6 points, 3 points for controlling, dominating zones of interest at the end of the game, and then the classified. It is a relatively straightforward sort of territory control mission, and it will benefit things accordingly. I think actually this will be interesting for anyone with Shinden Mutai or things like that, where we can do that, putting down your disco ballers and then your complete bonkers dudes who like slicing things up. put the smoke down, because they're going to be in a template the same size as a piece of smoke, charge your dude into it, Haizaki all day, choppy choppy choppy. This is it. I think as a Shindenbutai player, I fully approve this as a mission concept, and I think it's a very good idea, and we should do more of it. But yeah, I think this will be a fun one. I think that there is going to be, having the players place the zones of interest is going to be interesting. I think that is, yeah, I can see how that could be abused and how that could lead to issues, but who knows? We shall see. I've been wrong before. It could happen again. I shall be intrigued. But it looks like a fun mission. I'm definitely up for that one. Anyway, that is the new missions. Thank you to channel members and patrons for supporting me and making this possible, especially my Archangels, Chris Sexton and Mr. Cheshire, and Nephilim, Jim Callahan and Michael Rowan. If you want to see more stuff from the Dice Gods, including exclusive stuff that you don't get on YouTube, then do please consider signing up. It costs less than coffee, keeps me going, and we do lots more stuff. In the coming period of time, there'll be lots more diving into these ITS missions. I think there's a lot to be discussed about how particular factions will benefit, which ones are going to do well, which ones are going to do badly. So if you guys would like to see that, please do put it in the comments below, and I will bear that one in mind and do them for you. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care and goodbye.